etude, the most important thing is to maintain a smooth line throughout. If you look at the beginning of this etude, there are 2-bar phrases that we want to play with a slight hairpin so that it creates one big long phrase over the line. If you listen to it, this is the first 2 bars. The tone never stops, there's never any sudden bumps or releases, it just stays constant and really smooth throughout. In order to do this, if you look at bar 1 and bar 3, you'll notice that there's these quarter notes that need to be tongued on the 4th beat of each of those. So in the first bar it's an A flat, and then in the 3rd bar you have G natural. These quarter notes cannot be super separated. They need to be long and connected and actually become part of the line. So you don't want to suddenly stop the tone there. Really try and sing through them as you articulate. This is slightly different than what happens in bar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In bar 5, you have that A flat with a staccato on it. Okay, this is not meant to be a short note. Okay, you should only have a small space and really just think about maintaining clarity in the tonguing. So here's bars 3, 4, and then you'll hear the difference when I get to bar 5. Focus on that beat 4. So there was that slight separation when I played that A flat. It was half note, dee-da-da, da, D. And then you really want to have that a little bit of separation, but nothing short, not like this. That's too much space, okay? So you want to keep that line going even though there's staccatos. Same thing happens in bar 7. In bar 7, we have these dotted 8/16 rhythms. Show the judges the rhythm and the articulation without exaggerating anything. Okay, so the rhythm in that bar should be on the A flat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Yeah, so make sure that you've got all of those subdivisions in there. Here's what it sounds like. So the articulation is clear there, but it's not super short. So make sure that you still have the line maintained as you're playing that. As far as the rhythm goes in that bar 7, you really want to make sure that you hear all those subdivisions as you're practicing. So on beats 3 and 4, with the subdivisions, it would sound so that you get 1, 3, 4, 1. Really make those rhythms clear, and I'm sure that's what you're going to want to show the judges, that you know the rhythm and that you've made that clarity in the articulation. So I've mentioned that it's really important to get a smooth line in this etude. One way that you can achieve that is through the airstream, just keeping a steady, consistent airstream throughout. The other thing that's going to help you is if you use thumb B flat. Okay, so when you're playing that B flat, you want to use this key over here, not the long B natural key. Okay, so many of you have learned B flat like this, but if you use that thumb B flat, it's going to help make everything a lot smoother. If you have any questions about how to use thumb B flat, you can refer to a thumb B flat video that I have listed below here. Using that thumb B flat, it happens right in the beginning in measure 3. Okay, there we have this turn. Those little grace notes that need to be fit in very smoothly, okay, and quickly, right? But you can't, it's really hard to do that if you use this long B flat fingering. So I really recommend that you do the thumb B flat so that you can make it really smooth. You'll notice the time before that I actually slipped and I hit a C in between. So make sure you get that out. It's got to go from B flat and then release the thumb and the first finger at the same time so that it's really clear. Another couple times that you need the thumb B flat is for the trills. Okay, on that A flat trill to B flat, you really need to use that thumb B flat so that you don't have to go between this or use the lever. You could use the lever, but it's easier if you just use that thumb B flat and you set it and forget it, and then you've got you trill that one for A, the second finger for A flat. If it's more comfortable, you can do these two, or you can even do all three if it's comfortable. But the second finger will work just fine for that A flat to B flat trill. Same thing for A natural to B flat. You're going to just trill that second finger there with the thumb B flat. You have to have the thumb B flat or else it won't work. Next, I'd like to point out measure 9 and 13. Here we start with a long C natural that's tied over. Okay, this note can be very ugly on the flute if you don't adjust. Okay, so if we just play C natural or D flat like any other note on the flute, we get this sound. That really open, airy, nasty sort of sound. In order to make that C sound just like your B flat does, with the nice round focus sound, you have to work on it. It's going to take a different shape inside your mouth. And if you always, when you're playing, think about, oh, that's a C, oh, that's a D flat, or a C sharp, those notes you've got to spend extra care with. And you've got to always think, oh, I have to adjust there. Oftentimes inside my mouth, I'm saying a more and more focused sort of hollow sound inside my mouth, so that it aims the air more directly across. Okay, so on that note, you don't want to push the air too much. If you push too much, you'll get that really sharp and harsh sounding. So you want to be careful when you're playing those C's and the subsequent D flats to make sure that the tone stays nice and solid. So that you get the same sound throughout. Now, if you want to practice this, go ahead and do a chromatic pattern starting from B flat or A natural below it. Listen to the tone that you get on that note and go up chromatically. Try and maintain the sound all the way. So now B flat to B. Now from B natural to C, I don't want the tone color to change. Nothing's going to change. Okay, if you get a sound like that, that means you're doing it right, where the B natural matches the C natural. But if you're going, that's not what you want, right? That C has to be really careful. And then you go to the C sharp or D flat. The D flat is the hardest note to get, so you really want to match the tone color on all of those. This is really going to separate you between the other folks who play this. If you keep that tone quality high at this level, that's what judges are going to be listening for. Okay, finally, let's look at the trickiest measure in this etude, at least in my opinion it is. Measure 12. Okay, here we have to go down onto the foot joint and make a complete pass of all these keys. We have to go E flat, then down to low C, then D flat, and back to that E flat without picking up our pinky there. It's really tricky to get this at first, so I suggest practicing it this way. First, we're going to do it up the octave. Okay, so it's going to sound. Okay, that's the first 5 notes in measure 12, right? And I played it up the octave with the up the octave fingerings. Now I'm going to play it. That's how it's supposed to sound. And now we're going to do the fingerings in the low octave, but put our air up in the higher octave. So it's going to be like this. Okay, these are called harmonics. So I'm playing this, the A flat, and then I go down to the E flat, but you notice my first finger is down, so I'm using that low register fingering. And then I go to the D flat, or I'm sorry, the C, and then the D flat, right? And then back to the E. So I make that full pass on the foot joint, but my air is up the octave. That's why it has that hollow sound. Okay, practicing this with the air in the upper octave, but the fingerings down low, will help you identify if this is a finger problem or an air problem. Okay, if you have no problem doing this, playing these notes up the octave, then you just have to figure out how to play in the low register and get your airstream aimed correctly. So for this, to get it down in that low register, I suggest doing lots of long tones in the low register. I have another video that goes over some long tone exercises in the low register that can help you build some strength down there. You've got to have a concept of how to play in the low register before you can start doing all of these noodly bits in the low register. So practice it up the octave first, right, with the low octave fingerings. That's the best way to get through this, and make sure that you have the right fingerings and everything like that. Also, make sure that your flute is working properly. A lot of times this foot joint notes, the keys down here go out of adjustment really easily. So you want to make sure that your flute is well maintained and that you have a repair person or a professional flutist look and make sure that it's not your instrument. If it's you or the instrument, you don't want to work really hard and find out that it's your instrument that's not allowing you to play it. Best of luck on your preparation and your auditions.